Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Geopolitics at the Land of Origins. Saudi Arabia and China are quietly choosing sides in a conflict that could redraw the map of the Horn of Africa. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Right now. And at the center of it all lies a single, burning grievance, one that has never truly faded. For many in Ethiopia, the loss of Assab was never just a geopolitical shift. It was an injustice, a wound, a deliberate severing of a nation from the sea. If you look closely at the map of Eritrea, the shape itself tells a deeper story, one that many Ethiopians have not forgotten. A narrow coastal strip, drawn in a way that places Ethiopia at a distance from the Red Sea, as though access was not merely lost, but taken. And as we discussed in the previous video, that perception has become part of the national memory. Because Assab is not just a port. It is a symbol of what Ethiopia once had, and what it believes it lost unfairly. Today, that grievance is no longer just historical. It is strategic. Ethiopia, a nation of over 120 million people, is landlocked. Every import, every export, every ambition for industrial growth must pass through the territory of others. Independence, in geopolitics, is vulnerability. For years, Ethiopia has relied heavily on Djibouti. But reliance is not control. And control is what defines power. Just across the border, Eritrea holds what Ethiopia lacks, a coastline, and with it, Assab. But here is the deeper truth that is rarely spoken aloud. The ports of Eritrea, Assab included, are not naturally active economic hubs on their own. Eritrea has limited import and export demand. Without Ethiopia, these ports remain largely dormant, quiet, underutilized, almost suspended in potential. Which means the future of Assab does not depend only on Eritrea. It depends on Ethiopia. And this is exactly where external powers begin to see opportunity. Saudi Arabia is not stepping into this arena out of neutrality. It arrives with a clear and calculated interest. For Saudi Arabia, Assab represents a commercial and strategic asset waiting to be awakened. But that awakening depends on one condition: Ethiopia must use it. Without Ethiopian trade flowing through Assab, the port risks remaining what it largely is today, an underdeveloped coastal space with unrealized value. With Ethiopia, however, it transforms into a gateway, into profit, into influence. And Saudi Arabia's interests go even deeper. In the Afar region of Ethiopia, Saudi-backed agricultural investments, particularly large-scale alfalfa farms, were already in place. These farms supply feed for dairy production back in the Gulf. But transporting that output efficiently requires proximity to a viable port. Assab is not merely convenient. It is the shortest, most logical route, a logistical shortcut that transforms agricultural investment into a fully integrated supply chain. This is why the agreement signed in Jeddah between Isaias Afwerki and Abiy Ahmed included a provision for the development of the port of Assab. That clause was not symbolic. It was strategic. It aligned seamlessly with Saudi Arabia's long-term interests. On the other side stands China. And its ambitions are even broader. For China, Assab is not just a regional asset. It is a node within a global architecture. The Belt and Road Initiative is built on infrastructure, ports, railways, and corridors that connect continents and secure trade routes. And every strategic port along critical waterways strengthens that architecture. The Red Sea is one of those waterways. So for China, the development of Assab fits into a much larger vision, a vision where influence is not projected through confrontation, but constructed through investment, infrastructure, and presence. And yet, here lies the paradox. Both Saudi Arabia and China are close partners of both Ethiopia and Eritrea. They are not adversaries choosing sides in the traditional sense. They are allies navigating a delicate equilibrium, seeking to advance their interests without destabilizing the region. But that equilibrium is fragile. Because their interests, while overlapping, are not identical. Saudi Arabia seeks immediate economic activation, trade, agriculture, logistics. China seeks long-term structural integration, routes, networks, and strategic positioning. And both depend, in different ways, on the same outcome, a functional, accessible, and stable Assab. But stability, in this region, is never guaranteed. Because beneath the economic logic lies political reality. Ethiopia's desire for sea access is growing louder, more assertive, driven not only by necessity, but by historical grievance. Eritrea, on the other hand, views sovereignty as non-negotiable. Control over its coastline is not merely a resource, it is identity, it is independence. And when one nation's necessity meets another's sovereignty, tension becomes inevitable. Now add global powers into that equation. Add competing interests, strategic investments, and the weight of international influence. What emerges is no longer a simple dispute. It becomes a standoff, a slow, accumulating pressure where every move carries consequence. Because if Ethiopia pushes harder, and Eritrea resists more firmly, and external powers begin shaping outcomes behind the scenes, then the equilibrium begins to crack. The Red Sea amplifies that risk. This is not an isolated coastline. It is one of the most critical trade arteries in the world. A disruption here does not remain local, it radiates across shipping lanes, across markets, across continents. Which is why what is unfolding now matters far beyond the Horn of Africa. At this moment, there is no open conflict, no visible escalation, but there is movement, quiet negotiations, strategic positioning, shifts that are subtle in appearance yet irreversible in consequence. History has shown that conflicts of this nature do not begin with sudden explosions. They begin with gradual pressure, with unresolved grievances, with competing visions of the future, until one moment, one decision, tips the balance. And when that happens, the consequences are never contained. What we are witnessing is not peace. It is tension, carefully managed. It is power, carefully balanced. Saudi Arabia and China may believe they are stabilizing the situation. But in a region shaped by history, identity, and strategic necessity, even well-calculated involvement can generate unintended outcomes. Because in the end, this is not just about a port. It is about access. It is about control. It is about a nation's place in the world. And if that question is forced into an answer, the Horn of Africa may once again find itself at the center of a conflict the world cannot ignore. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because the next chapter of this story may unfold sooner than anyone expects.